Hey, Chris Liepe here with Architects, Sam Carter, Impermanence, live from Abbey Road. I have not seen this. This is fairly new. I'm a huge Sam Carter and Architects fan. I've done another video on Sam where I go and pick little nuggets out of the catalog of Architects songs and analyze them. It's a great video. I've left that link in the description below, as well as a link to my free voice course. Anybody who's watched a reaction video of mine knows that I'm not just reacting. In this case, I haven't seen it yet, so there will be an element of reaction. But I like to analyze. I like to pull things out of the vocal performance and put them in my own voice. If you want the solid foundation in your singing and musical mind to be able to pull things out of your favorite singers and have them inform the way you sing, click the link below and join my free voice course. That's going to help you do just that. Now, in this video, I'm going to start by reflecting on the lyrics just a little bit. The title of the song really resonated with me, and so I decided to go ahead and read the lyrics. And I want to see how the actual words play into my perception of Sam's performance. This is really important, and I tend to, when I'm listening, once I've listened to a song multiple times through, I tend to make this connection between lyrics and performance. It's not always happening consciously, even between the singer and songwriter, or between the lyrics and the singer. Sam Carter is a very intense singer, and his lyrics are very intense. And one of the reasons I resonate with their music is because things hit so close to home for me. And this topic of impermanence and where the song goes lyrically, we're all going to die. If you're resisting death, then you're probably not really going to live. If you're so afraid to die, then how can you get the most out of the time you have? And what does that look like for each individual? What does that look like for me? I think it's super healthy to ponder that, ponder the meaning and the purpose behind this song, and then get into the song. I'm going to connect the way that the writers connected and have a greater appreciation for the song and, thankfully, even for my own existence in this case. So keep that in mind. Listen to the words. Pull them up, as I have, while you're going through the song, and see how it informs your enjoyment of this piece.
We've got a choice, but still we've had the chance to suffer. 'Cause there's no escape. What's the future to lose? Swimming with concrete seas.
Okay, sorry. Gotta stop already because there's so many things sonically, vocally going on here. Absolute incredible stuff right off the bat. I will say, first of all, having spent a lot of time listening to Sam Carter in the studio realm where everything's really layered, there's all sorts of background vocals and really cool arranging. It's really fun to hear him here. I want to back it up and I want to listen again to just his opening screams there and how he's connecting the scream with his chest voice, with his normal speaking voice. And then, I also want to say, I love this atmosphere. The orchestra with the heavy, it reminds me in some ways of the old S&M Metallica stuff. But for now. Okay, let's go back and listen.
We've got a choice, but still we've had the chance to suffer.
Okay, let's take the word suffer as a really good example of this. You can hear him do this even in studio recordings, but this is not just a all-out scream the whole time. He's constantly talking and then pushing up to his scream. If I were to take the word suffer, I would want to suffer, 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 and then push on suffer, 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 suffer. Adding this connection to the word suffer. And if we take those lyrics further, still we'd rather suffer. What I'm doing is I am creating a dichotomy within the line. Yes, false chord engagement. I'm pushing up to my vocal break. Still we'd rather. But what I'm really thinking about, now that I've trained my muscle memory to flirt with my vocal break and dial in a scream, is I'm thinking about this dichotomy. I'm thinking about grounding and vulnerability. Okay, I'm grounded, vulnerable, grounded, vulnerable, grounded, vulnerable. And that is what makes Sam Carter's screams so good. It's not just yeah all the time. It's this, I'm going to states and I'm going to ground and I'm going to go and I'm going to be desperate and I'm going to go up and down dynamically, even within one line. Keep that in mind as we keep going. There was another thing here I want to show you. The best of you! The best of you! You can hear him on the edge of going back to his full-on scream, right? This is very nasal. The best of you! And then allowing his voice to be right on the edge of breaking completely apart. The best! That's compression right before he breaks up with a high focus on nasality in a comfortable area of his range. All right. Had to get that out of the way. Let's enjoy some more. In his head voice. Impermanence. Impermanence. Little bits of head voice blending down into his chest. Impermanence. There is a subtle space that will all discover. Hear it? Discover! Discover! Ugh. Writing on the wall. You hear how bright he is? The writing on the wall. You hear how many different characters there are? Even with, he's got this guy. Yeah! The writing on the wall. He does a great job having this conversation and large character arcing going on. The dynamics of the vocals are by far the greatest in range. I don't mean necessarily note range, but what's going on behind him is not as dynamic as what he is portraying with his voice. Now, I realize that part was doubled. We die alone, we die alone. But there's some interesting things going on there. He approached that threshold. We die alone, we die alone. Compressed, higher chest. But then he's flirting with his break, so at the very end of Alone, he roasts that note a little bit. It's a little bit covered with what's going on with the background vocals, but if I were to take this approach, we die alone, we die alone. We die alone, we die alone. No. We die alone, we die alone. We die alone, we die alone. Having that end on the word alone, it creates that extra sense of vulnerability where we're grounded. And this is the way Sam Carter rolls. We're role players in a symphony that fights against impermanence again and again and again and again and again. Again, again, again. Ooh. Again and again and again. It's pretty low there. And then listen to this pitch. Let's back it up just a little bit here. to low pitch. Okay, he starts on that scream. This is not just your typical, what people would say is a fry scream. Again! He has an essence of little bits of pitch in there. And I've covered this in other videos, how to sing scream. But this idea that we are thinking a pitch, and then we are layering, we are letting things fall apart around that pitch. First we're layering distortion, then we're flirting with our vocal break to get there. So, and you can hear him moderate that a little bit or lose a little bit of control, which is super awesome before he goes back into his speech resonance. But if we isolate this note again and again, and then we let our voice fall around that and still have an essence of that pitch, it becomes more set in its environment rather than just being a truly note removed mentality and therefore sort of disconnected fry sound. So we go, again and again, again and again and again. There it is. You can hear a little bit of the in the back, and it's a higher scream. It's a higher tone with a little bit of that pitch. And if you listen back to what he just did there, he's honed in on that pitch again, and then he goes again, where he allows his voice to go higher, and you can hear the pitch change. It's actually those primary chords informing that, as well as how he's shaping his mouth. But here it's more pushing that pitch a little bit higher, or not necessarily reaching for the note, but allowing himself to go higher and then grounding in his speech resonance. Again! So powerful, so connected. Oh, love his low to high, high to low sort of sound. You hear those contrasts, the grounding in speech, the subtle existence of pitch in every scream. If you haven't listened to Sam Carter this way, you will never listen to him the same again. He's one of the finest vocalists out there right now, I think, in this genre especially. Him and Spencer Sotelo, they speak to me so much in terms of how they execute, how they draw different textures out of the single voice. That was a really cool arced line, right? Very tender almost on, we're barricaded, 'cause nobody wants to meet the maker. And he really leans into it. How many times when we're singing do we try to think of like, well, what's the ideal tone for this song? Or what's the ideal intensity for this song? He is all over the place. And he does this with a lot of songs. But this idea that there's no one right way. He's connecting with the frustration in the lyrics. He's connecting with the desperate nature of the theme of the song. We're all going to die. How can we not screw ourselves over because we're afraid to die? And this is coming out in the ultimate expression of the human voice. The seeds are so damn we die alone, we die alone. There was that wonderful roasting of that. We die alone, we die alone. Refuse. We were born to lose. Do you really want to live forever? Oh, that was awesome. So he's just talking there, right? He's got the sound like this, and it's a little brighter. But he's just talking. It's the same sort of sung thing he was doing earlier, but the fact that he can get that same sort of character in his speech voice and his singing voice is what's allowing his singing voice to sound so natural. If you can speak it in a certain character and a certain energy first, translating it to your voice is going to be way easier. That's something that we can pick up here in a very obvious way. A lot of times we go for a certain singing tone and think that that's separate from how we should speak. Well, it is in most cases because we don't go around speaking like this. But we have to put in our speech first in order for it to be internalized, and then we sing it. And if we go back and listen to what he does here, he does a wonderful job of that.
We were born to lose.
We were born to lose! We were born to lose! No pitch necessary.
Really wanna live forever.
It's that love! So he goes back to singing. Do you really want to live? There's the pitch. Do you really want to live forever? Just allowing yourself to hit certain metrics or go for certain pitches, but be yourself. Let yourself do things that you don't hear him doing as you're inspired by the things you do hear him doing. That's how we want to approach this. I'm not going to sound like Sam Carter. My lows are nowhere near as thick as he's been able to develop. But the fact that I'm trying things and breaking my voice in healthy ways, and I've covered a lot of ways to break your voice in a healthy way on this channel. This is how we want to go about learning from our favorite singers.
Oh. 'Cause I'm afraid to die will never truly love. Don't ever truly.
Ooh. I stopped it there. Let me back it up again.
Don't ever truly love.
Truly love. Hearing that speech connection, that regular voice connection with his. If you take nothing else from this video, do that kind of thing. Connect your screams to going up to your vocal break, being extra vulnerable, allowing yourself to break, push in with a pitch in mind, come back down to your chest. We'll never truly live! We'll never truly live! Don't worry about being the same as him. Capture the energy with the technique. Love it.
We're born to lose. Do you really want to live forever?
Oh.
We're barricaded, 'cause nobody wants to meet the maker. The seeds are something we die alone, we die alone.
Another thing that I want to point out, when you look at the way Sam Carter looks when he sings, this is really important to observe. Yeah, he's opening his mouth wide, yeah, and doing stuff, but he doesn't have this thing. You know, a lot of singers, they even start singing something so simple, and they'll do something like, and they do things with their face. They're holding a lot of tension in their face and in their jaw. This is actually getting in the way, or has the potential to get in the way, of a relaxed intensity, as I like to call it, for this kind of singing. If you are really tensing your face, even on this stuff that's not so difficult, where are you going to go when things are difficult? Now you're going to tense up in other areas. That tension's going to bleed elsewhere. And when you look at his face when he sings, there's almost this sense of like disengagement with his face. This is allowing him to be intense, but not tense. There's a big difference. Keep that in mind as you watch the rest of this video, and even your own singing. Do a check. Am I making faces while I'm singing, even like calm stuff or even mildly challenging things? Are my faces necessary? Could I release that tension and sing the same things and scream without the things going on? Give it a try. We die alone, we die alone. Notice how he's closing those. Die alone, we die alone. I am exaggerating that to make the point. It's really important that even in these subtle lines, when we're learning to really inject character and interest into our lines, into our vocal lines, this idea of being obvious with vowel changes is really, really key. Now notice, die alone, die alone. I can do that the other way. Die alone, die alone. Experimenting with different ways to place your vowel changes is a really low-hanging fruit way to add major interest to your voice. He's trained this into his voice. He's not really thinking about this. But we owe it to ourselves to train those things into our voice so that we can forget about them and perform well later. Well, that is the first of many listen-throughs to that. And I did happen to see on their YouTube channel, they've got a couple others that I just completely missed. So I'm really excited to go back and watch some of those other ones as well. Thank you, Architects and Sam Carter, for coming out with some new music. And for this setting, this is absolutely incredible. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed diving into this, maybe for the first time, as was my experience. If not, hope you enjoyed it anyway, and even experimenting or getting some ideas for experimenting with your own singing. Again, if you'd like more help, click that link below, join my free voice course, and check out that other video I did on Sam Carter a while back. Talk to you soon.